Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. In today's video we are going to be discussing the best units for each faction in battle. Please note that the video will be heavily focused on unmodified multiplayer conflict, essentially a battle in which players have limited resources to spend on their armies and are also not affected by any of the campaign redline buffs, unique items, lore traits, or anything pertaining to unit modification. This will allow us to really take a look at a unit from a cost-effectiveness standpoint in tandem with their performance on the battlefield. Ultimately, I feel this is a way to go for analysis, as in campaign, almost any unit can be made relatively effective with lore augmentations, red lines, and many other variables. Granted, I do believe that there are certain units in campaign that are the best for a faction, especially as you kind of get into the late game, the dreaded Doom stack. However, in today's video, we will be focusing on unmodified good old-fashioned battle. And on that note, my friends, let us begin and jump right into this list. And now, to avoid being put in the Great Book of Grudges myself, we shall begin this video by talking about the dwarves. So for the dwarves, I think that the best unit hands down is going to be the standard Longbeard with the axe and the shield. They're so damn good that recently Creative Assembly actually did bump up their cost, I believe from 650 to 700, and it's certainly warranted. They have 100 armor, 80 leadership, and the 80 leadership is really good on its own. However, when they get into the battle, their shields are interlocked, they're shoulder to shoulder with their fellow dwarves. They're actually going to get the flank secured, they're going to get leadership buffs from your lords, and they're going to be a little bit closer to 90, which is pretty insane for only 700 gold. On top of that, you would expect their combat stats, you're like, alright, they have good armor, they have good leadership, they're probably going to have some weaknesses in other departments. Well, not so much. Yes, they're relatively slow at 26 speed, but that's not such an issue for the dwarves, who are typically going to be a faction that's very stationary. These bad boys have 30 melee attack, 48 melee defense, which is just insane. That is so durable. So most armies, if you're expecting any sort of a pressure, even from things that are great weapon units, for example, if they're coming in with Chaos Marauders that have great weapons, normally very good against armor, the Chaos Marauders might have melee attack between 26 and 32, and it's going to have to go upward against your 48 melee defense, which is just awesome. Now, something that's really nice about Longbeards, which some things like Chosen, Chaos Chosen, the most elite units on the Chaos roster, they are not immune to psychology. However, these old, grumpy, sturdy dwarves are indeed immune to psychology, which means if you're being attacked by giant monsters, by dragons, by dragon ogre shaggots, by anything that causes terror, the dreaded Hydra, the Chill of Sontar perhaps, these guys are not going to break and run due to terror routes, which is incredible. It really allows your front line to hold, and the dwarves being able to hold their front line is one of the most important aspects of playing the dwarves, simply because if it collapses, your real damage dealing units, your Thunderers, your Artillery, your Bugman's Rangers, your Rangers, Quarrelers, all that sort of good stuff is going to get compromised, and from there you basically lose the game. So having these very cost-effective, durable troops in the front line that are immune to psychology, have incredible armor, great leadership, and really, really high melee defense with, decent offensive output is certainly a key to success. So there you have it, guys. That is the best unit for the dwarves, the noble Longbeard with the axe and shield. And now, my friends, the nation calls as we head on over to the realm of the Empire. So for the Empire, I think that the best unit on the roster are the Demogryph Knights with halberds. These guys, in my opinion, are really the glue that holds the faction together. The Empire is kind of a jack-of-all-trades faction. They don't have the best infantry, their missile units are certainly good, but not the best in the game, and that kind of goes for pretty much all of their different troop types. However, Demogryph Knights with halberds, they're your backline sweeper, they're your enforcer. If something's coming to threaten your artillery, these bad boys with their high mass, their good armor, and their amazing bonus first large just come in and start sweeping up shop. So that's kind of the thing, right? You're going to have your back line, you're going to have your missile pieces, your other cav units that perhaps you want to protect, and if they're threatened, the Demogryph Knights are the boys that come in and do the heavy lifting. I can't tell you how many games I've seen with these guys where they just absolutely carry. So if we really look at their stats, 125 armor, so again, small arms fire, anything that really lacks AP, they're going to be very durable. Relatively fast with 75 speed, but really where they shine is their weapon strength at 52 with amazing armor piercing values, 35 of 52, and also an amazing bonus first large of 25. So if you got a dragon, you got a beast, you got a Vargle, if you got anything big and scary, call in these guys, you certainly won't regret it. And something that really makes them especially good. And yeah, there's other anti-large cav units in the game that are probably, just as good or in the same ballpark. But again, the Empire is all about its synergies. If you guys want a little bit of a quick tip here in this video, I would recommend getting your Demogryph Knights, put a Warrior Priest on a horse, ride them around together, and when the Demogryph Knights charge in, use the buffs from the Warrior Priest, and you're going to get a really, really powerful cav unit. So that is going to be it for the Empire. It is going to be the Demogryph Knights with halberds, the backline sweeper, the enforcer of Sigmar. And now, guys, we go on to the next faction. And now, my friends, we head on over to the realm of the Wood Elves and Mel Gibson. So you guys will probably see this one coming. I think that hands down the best unit on the Wood Elf roster are the Way Watchers. I've seen so many battles in both campaign as well as multiplayer decided almost immediately by Way Watchers. Your opponent's coming in, they're like, yes, this is going to be a great game. I'm going to have so much fun. I'm going to overwhelm these Wood Elves, ride them down with my heavy cav. Their lord overextends ever so slightly, and then suddenly a hail of fire comes out of the shadows. The Way Watchers with their 190 range, their amazing armor piercing values just absolutely destroy your lord. These guys are probably some of the best archers in the entire game. I think they have the best range of all these standard kind of archer units, excluding like deck gunners and things like that. They hit very, very hard, and they're also quite slippery. They have 40 speed, so if you are trying to catch them with infantry units, good luck with that. But heavy cav can certainly ride them down, and that is one of the best ways to deal with them. But a couple Way Watchers in tandem with the Prey of Anathrema. And really, that's a point we should address. One of the reasons why Way Watchers are so damn good is because Wood Elves, one of their lords, the Glady, does have the ability called the Prey of Anathrema, which snares anything in place for a period of time and also applies a debuff of negative 22% missile resist to that target. Basically, that as a force multiplying effect with the Way Watchers sniping, their accuracy and their range just leads to absolute devastation on the battlefield. And we've seen this countless times in tournaments. The Way Watchers are hands down the biggest game changer on the Wood Elf roster. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. I certainly think it's the case, but on that note, guys, let us head on over to the next faction. And now, my friends, we head on over to the realm of Tyrion and Teclis. So for the High Elves, I do think that the best unit on the roster is the Star Dragon. This guy is an absolute beast. 80 armor, 80 leadership, and 80 speed, so he's actually very fast for a monstrous unit. But what's really cool about like big, powerful flying monsters is that if they're going to attack, let's say like a Kolek Sun Eater or Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, these other beasties that of course are very good against large targets as well, you're going to be coming in from the air, you will get your charge bonus and they will not. They have to eat your charge. So when you really kind of add that to how good his stats already are, or the Star Dragon stats, things are looking pretty up. So he's got 60 melee attack and also does fire damage. So if you're fighting Morkar the Shadowgave, Tomb King's Lords, Throg, a multitude of vampire characters, he's going to be able to do an extra 22% damage on top of that because those characters are indeed weak to fire. So what's also really nice about the Star Dragon, and probably one of his biggest perks, is how damn powerful his breath attack is. His breath attack, the Star Dragon's breath, is really, really good against single targets. So if you're able to fly over the head of a lord or a wizard or another monster like a Varghul for anything that's on the ground that is a big single entity, you can like almost one-shot these lords. It is insane. Basically, you fly the dragon right overhead, like when you're just like looking straight up, you breathe right down to the target, and this can just be like an instant win. If you're able to really get good at this, catch your opponent's hero trapped in a blob, for example. I had a game the other day where Archaon the Everchosen was like amongst a blob of units, and the Star Dragon just trundled right over the top of him, breath attack, brought him down like super low, and then the dragon itself came in to just finish off. This guy is an absolute powerhouse of a duelist, really, really good breath attacks, hits incredibly hard, and is by far one of the best, most cost-effective monsters in the entire game. Now, it is micro-intensive. It's very expensive as well at 2,400 gold, so it takes a little bit of finesse, and you have to know which engagements to choose and which ones are a little bit dicey, but if you get good at that, this boy will take you far. So there it is for the High Elves, the dreaded Star Dragon. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we head on over to the realm of the Dark Elves. So for the Dark Elves, in my opinion, the best unit on the roster is the Scourge Runner Chariot. And this thing's kind of like the WD-40 of Warhammer. Basically, got a little bit of a problem there, a little bit of a squeak in the joints. Rub a little bit of that Scourge Runner Chariot on that bad boy. It'll take care of your problem. It's really good against infantry, being a chariot. And yes, it doesn't have the best AP values in melee. However, with good cycle charging, its incredible speed, you're usually going to be able to get pretty good value against infantry with good control. Now, not only is it good against infantry, but let's say you're in a situation you're like, what on my roster can I kill infantry and also deal with large monsters, threats, heavy cav, enemy lords, casters, single entities? Well, look no further than the glorious Scourge Runner Chariot. This bad boy has a giant erect ballista mounted on its back, 96 missile damage, bonus first large of 40, incredible range at 150. I mean, that is really good. That's more than a lot of different archer units. So basically with this guy, you can skirmish, you can harass enemy heavy cav units, enemy skirmishers, you can harass pretty much anything you want and get pretty good value. And once you're able to kill their heavy cav, kill the big threats with the Scourge Runner, you come in for the Alpha Strike and use it as a standard chariot. So even when it runs out of ammo, it's still a very useful unit. And there's many units in the game that when they run out of ammo, you're like, it's useless. There's only a crew left. But this thing is just so damn good. It's a fix-all. It's great against infantry. It's great against big monsters. It's extremely cost-effective for 950 gold, and it got nerfed recently, and it certainly was warranted, but I still think it's one of the better units in the game. So there you have it, guys. That is the best unit for the Dark Elves, the dreaded Scourge Runner Chariot. For the lady! And now, my friends, we arrive in the realm of BRETONNIA. So for BRETONNIA, I think that the best unit on the roster are the Questing Knights. Now, what's really cool about Questing Knights is that for 1,100 gold, you don't really have to go up to that super elite 1,500 gold, 1,600 gold for Grail Knights and Grail Guardians respectively to get immune to psychology. So for BRETONNIA, one of the biggest problems they've had for a long time is dealing with big armor, right? So I'm talking the big old Sphinxes, the Iroh Titan, even like Demogryph Knights on the Empire. Just armored units in general have been a bit of a pickle for the Bretonnians for quite some time. Now, Questing Knights are a great remedy for this because they have good general stats, 40 melee attack, 36 melee defense, and 48 weapon strength with really, really good armor piercing values. So these bad boys, though they don't have the charge bonus of some of the bigger cav units, are really good in sustained combat. And they give you that really solid, steady presence that isn't going to buckle and run. I've had many games where I use Knights of the Realm and some of the other anti-large cav that BRETONNIA does have, and more so with Knights of the Realm because they're not immune to psychology. They'll charge into a big monster, and yeah, they have that bonus first large, but they do lack the AP. Knights of the Realm don't have the best armor piercing values, and they're not immune to psychology. So if they're fighting a big old Necrosphinx or some big scary monster, and it gets a little bit south and, you know, gets grim for them, they will run for the hills. However, Questing Knights, though they don't have the bonus first large, they have better AP values, a little bit more durable, and they also do have that immunity to psychology, which is great. So they kind of make a really cool tri-purpose cav. Pretty good against infantry, right? With their sustained combat stats, they can charge into some Chaos Warriors. They can sit in combat for a little bit, get some kills, pull back, go after another target. Or if you're trying to deal with enemy heavy cav, so let's say you're fighting the Empire, you have Empire Knights, you have Reiksguard Knights, they're going to be able to go in there and really outmatch those shock cav units because they have the better AP and they're better in sustained combat. On top of that, last but not least, if you are looking to fight large monsters like a Tomb Scorpion or big Sphinxes or Ushabti, for example, these guys are going to be able to get in there and fight monsters as well. So a really nice kind of tri-point unit. They're good against infantry, good against enemy heavy cav. They can kind of work as a bit of a shock cav unit as well. Their charge bonus isn't great, but they make up for that with their weapon strength. So I really do think that Questing Knights are really one of the anchor pieces of BRETONNIA. They, as well as the peasant mobs, are the backbone of BRETONNIA, fighting and doing their thing for the lady. So there it is, guys. For BRETONNIA, it is the noble Questing Knight. All hail the mighty, my friends, as we arrive at the realm of the Vampire Coast. So for the Vampire Coast, and you know, it's kind of the pirate way, we're going to be cheating a little bit for this video. We're just going to be saying zombie pirate gunnery mobs in general. So as far as zombie pirate gunnery mobs go, there are 4 standard variants. Now the 4th one, which is the hand cannon, is going to be excluded from this list. This is the friend that you don't invite to parties, you don't really want to hang out with, they're annoying, and they're just not really good at anything. That is going to be the hand cannon. They still just kind of suck. But anyways, it is going to be the standard gunnery mob with the pistol, the bombers, as well as the handgunners. These units are really nice. So if you're looking for something that's kind of a good general anti-skirmishing unit and also isn't bad as kind of a frontline pressure piece, these zombie pirate gunnery mobs are great. For 300 gold, you get something with 90 range, with a massive volume of fire, 120 models, a big HP pool, and they can shoot while moving. So these guys can kind of move up as a frontline tar pit unit. If you put them in guard mode, they'll actually keep on shooting even while they're engaged by enemy units. The zombie pirate gunnery mobs really do bring a lot to the battlefield. Frontline pressure piece, they can shoot single entities and be relatively effective. Yeah, they're not super accurate, but there's a lot of them. There's 120 of these bad boys. So eventually those blunderbusses or pistols or flintlocks or whatever they're using will make contact. Now that is the standard zombie pirate gunnery mob. The next variant is going to be the bomber variant. These guys were pretty bad for quite some time, but Creative Assembly and of course the Great King of the Dead did make them quite popular, but Creative Assembly did give them some buffs to their explosion damage. So now bombers are one of the best tools that the Vampire Coast has to actually clear out frontline threats. Typically, Vampire Coast gets crumped in the front line pretty bad. They lose those fights. The standard deck mobs, though they're very tanky and can hold for quite some time with their big HP pools, they do get cut down, right? So having the bombers who are incredible at actually throwing at things in combat, they have this really nice arc of fire where they throw right over the front line into those troops and just melt enemy front lines. Now, not super good against armor, but still not ineffective, but really good at clearing out chaff. And normally people get a ton of lightly armored chaff units in Swarm Vampire Coast. It's one of the more common tactics to defeat them. So zombie pirate gunnery mob bombers, really, really good stuff. Now the 3rd variant, of course, which we're going to be including in this cheating section here of this video, is the zombie pirate gunnery mob with handguns. These guys are great. 145 range, solid armor piercing values. Not the best accuracy, but again, it's a weight of fire thing with 120 models. These guys are a really, really good powder piece. Things like handgunners for the Empire, of course, probably a little bit more accurate, better missile damage, but zombie pirate gunnery mobs have more models, plus they also don't break. They're unbreakable, so it gives you a really good sustainable firing platform, and that pretty much can be said for all of the different zombie pirate gunnery mobs. So there you have it for Vampire Coast. It is going to be the powder backbone of the coast, the zombie pirate gunnery mob handgun, bomber, as well as the pistol variant, and unfortunately the uninvited cousin here, the zombie pirate gunnery mob hand cannon, forever lost in the shadows, not to be included in this list. Yes, yes, my friends, the Undercity calls, and now we arrive at the SKAVEN. So for the SKAVEN, the best unit on the roster is the Warplock Jezzails. These guys are just so damn good, and ever since they were brought in with the Clan Scryer DLC, these guys have been in pretty much every SKAVEN build. If your opponent is bringing a Lord, any sort of cav units, a single entity, the Jezzail is going to be the perfect counter. They themselves actually have 70 armor and silver shields, though a very low model count, but they're actually a little bit more durable than people give them credit for. Now, if they're rode down by infantry or heavy cav, yeah, they're going to crumble and run, but that's pretty much much just the SKAVEN way. I mean, that's most SKAVEN units, right? But regardless, 275 range, really good missile damage at 35 with shield breaking as well. So poor dwarves. I always feel bad. The SKAVEN matchup, SKAVEN just run dwarves over, and this is one of the reasons why as well. Jezzails can snipe the Lord, and even if the Lords have a shield or you're shooting Ironbreakers or Longbeards, these guys have shield breaker as well, which does take away 24 missile parry with shielded units. But again, 35 missile damage, really, really good AP values. They were more accurate before. They did get a nerf to their accuracy a while back, but still, they usually hit home, and Jezzails are such a steady source of damage. And what's really powerful about them also is the Regiment of Renown, the Natty Boobo sharpshooters. Those guys actually can shoot while they're invisible, so you can't even really return fire without getting close. It's so damn good. But nonetheless, Jezzails are one of those SKAVEN units, and that's kind of the metric I'm using in this video. Like, how many matchups are Jezzails good in? And they're good in almost every single matchup. If your opponent is bringing a Lord, which they have to, a single Jezzail will always be useful, right? As a pressure piece against Lords. With their good AP values, they can bring down heavy cav units, light cav units. They can deal with enemy skirmishers. They can shoot at very high value infantry pieces and snipe them out. Warplock Jezzails are hands down one of the best units in the game. The best unit for SKAVEN for sure, but if I'm looking at the entire game in a shell, I think Jezzails deserve a consideration for one of the best units. So there you have it, guys. The Horned Rat smiles to stay on the Warplock Jezzails. We'll see you guys in the next faction. And now we head on over to the realm of the greenskins, although I would probably hesitate to call it a realm. It's more like a fighting pit or just some sort of a morass of greenskins. But nonetheless, guys, the best unit here for the greenskins, in my opinion, are the mighty Black Orcs. Now, the greenskins are a faction that are really plagued by leadership issues. Oftentimes, your Goblin frontline, your Savage Orc frontline, Orc boys, you name it, even Biggins, are going to turn and run when they start to suffer a lot of pressure. So if there's big monsters coming in, a Kemrian War Sphinx, a Mammoth from NORSCA, just all these big, scary, terror-causing threats, could be a dragon, who knows? They're going to turn and run, then your Archer line and your more vulnerable pieces of your greenskin army are going to be in a little bit of trouble. But the Black Orc is really the backbone. Now, Black Orcs aren't good in every single matchup, but they're good in a lot of matchups and are a very, very solid anchor piece. Having the immunity to psychology, 110 armor, 50 weapon strength with great AP values is really, really nice. Now, their combat stats aren't the best. Their melee defense a little bit low, but they do, of course, make up for that with their heavy armor. Now, what's really also quite nice about the fact that Black Orcs are immune to psychology is that oftentimes, I've seen in battles, the greenskins charge in, their WA is active, but before the full duration of the WA goes off, the units will be running, but Black Orcs typically will stay and fight, and it takes a lot to move these guys. It takes a ton of damage to break them. As such, they're really going to be able to benefit from the full duration of the WA. There you have it, guys. The greenskins, the best unit is going to be the mighty Black Orc, Grimgor's chosen, certainly showing him up once again. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us head on over to the Vampire Counts. So for the Vampire Counts, I think that the best unit on the roster, hands down, are the mighty Knights of the Red Keep, Blood Knights. Now, Blood Knights are really good for a couple of reasons, but one of the main reasons why they're so damn good is that they exist on the Vampire Counts roster. So the Vampire Counts have access to probably the best lore magic in the game with lore vampires. Invocation of Nehek is capable of actually resurrecting models. So for example, if you look at the Empire, yeah, Demogryph Knights are really strong, but they can't be resurrected. So once you take down Demis, you know you're not going to have to worry about them as much as you did before. However, with Blood Knights, if you get into a big fight, you take out a fair portion of them, they can actually be resurrected with Invocation of Nehek, which is so damn cost effective. On top of that, Blood Knights have pretty good stats to boot. 110 armor, they're shielded, but if you just look at their stat card in a vacuum, you're going to be missing out on a couple key variables. So firstly, they do have an ability called the Flag of Blood Keep. So when they're not engaged in melee, they're going to be getting 22% missile resist, which is really, really powerful. On top of that, they do also, big elite cav units like this are often the target for missiles anyway, so having this is very nice. Now, they do also have Frenzy as well, so they're going to be getting 15% weapon damage, 8% charge bonus, and 8 melee attack. And of course, immunity to psychology does not really matter for them. But nonetheless, these guys are so good because number one, they're on the Vampire Count roster and they have Invocation of Nehek. But number two, they're a really good multi-purpose cav unit. If you go into a matchup and you're playing against an opponent who has heavy cav themselves, some big monsters, you got Blood Knights. Blood Knights can deal with large threats pretty effectively with pretty good weapon strength and a bonus first large of 22 and a huge charge bonus of 72. They're going to be able to get in there and really do massive damage to large targets. On top of that, what's really nice about Blood Knights, like I said, is their dual purpose. If you're playing against an infantry build, for example, they come in with a bunch of Chaos Warriors or Chaos Marauders or, just Savage Orcs, you name it, whatever. They're going to be really good against infantry as well. They work as a dual purpose shock cav unit. They have a charge bonus of 72, and a lot of anti-large units like Demogryph Knights, for example, aren't as effective at clearing through hordes, but Blood Knights don't have that problem. They can take out hordes, they can take out monsters, and they're very, very durable with access to Invocation of Nehek as well as the Blood Keep flag. So the Blood Knights, in my opinion, take the crown for the Vampire Counts, which is definitely, it's always cool to see the more badass looking units take the crown as far as actually being really good, and they certainly do fit the bill. So there you have it, guys. Vampire Counts, Blood Knights all day, baby. All right, my cold-blooded friends, it is now time for the Lizardmen. So for the dinos, I think that the best unit on the roster is the Humble Chameleon Skink. So these guys are by far one of the most annoying, cost-effective skirmishers in the game, and let's go ahead and talk about why. So firstly, how you usually deal with skirmishers. Let's say you have Dark Riders, you have Pistoliers, you'd be like, let us line up our sights, let's get our own missile pieces and shoot at them. Well, Chameleons have a very loose formation. This already makes them very tough targets for missiles. And secondly, they have an ability which gives them 40% missile resist. So they are just so damn annoying. This is, of course, their chameleon trait. You can see it up in the tooltip there. So not only are they in a very loose formation, but on top of that, these bad boys get an additional 40% missile resist. So you're almost having the damage of missile attacks coming in, which even if they shoot at them with Way Watchers or elite missile units, essentially they're going to be wasting their ammo. These little skinks take minimal damage from missile attacks and are very, very sticky and annoying. Now, on top of this, Chameleon Skinks do have really annoying attacks of their own. They have 80 range, which isn't bad. It certainly makes them ideal for kiting infantry or shooting at enemy skirmishers. And, in a lot of matchups, you're going to be seeing Outriders and Dark Riders with repeater crossbows coming in to try and take out your big dinos with their heavy AP missiles. And Chameleons are the perfect answer for fending those guys off. If they try and shoot back at you, you're just going to laugh and cackle and be a Chameleon Skink and shoot back with your poison darts, which, 22 missile damage certainly isn't bad, but it does apply poison. And they certainly, are no joke. Now, another annoying thing about these guys is that if you actually try and catch them, let's say some brave knights of the Empire want to ride out and catch the Chameleons, well, you have your 66 speed, but as you chase the little skinks, they're going to poison you, slow you down to the low 50s. And honestly, sometimes even cav units cannot catch the skinks because of the poison. They are just so damn slippery and so good for so many purposes. Good at counter skirmishing, good at kiting and killing infantry. If you have a big, powerful flying lord in the enemy army like Malekith or Karl Franz flying above your army, the skinks can just, sit below and shoot their little blow darts up at those targets and really slow them down. The skinks just bring so much value to the battlefield. Now, this was a tough one. I think that the Feral Carnosaur is certainly a contender as well. And honestly, like Saurus infantry are really good with 50 plus weapon strength. But the Chameleon Skink is incredibly annoying, very cost effective for 600 gold, and I think is one of the best skirmishers and counter skirmishers in the entire game. So there you have it, guys. The Skinks finally get a victory over the Saurus, and we'll see you guys in the next faction. And now, my friends, we head to the land of the ice and snow as we look at NORSCA. So for NORSCA, I think that the best unit on the roster are the Marauder Berserkers. Granted, I was super torn here. I was looking at Skin Wolves, I was looking at Mammoths, looking at Fimir, but again, I think that the Berserkers are a really solid staple for the NORSCA roster. So if we take a look at these bad boys, they have insane offensive stats. And yeah, they're a little bit squishy, but there are a couple ways around that. So they have 40 melee attack, 52 weapon strength, which is insane. And on top of that, they have a bonus versus infantry of 5. So if you put these guys against pretty much any infantry unit that doesn't have a lot of armor, they are going to be an absolute buzzsaw. But what's also very nice is that they have really good leadership. And for NORSCA, that can be a bit of an issue for standard Marauders. And as long as you're not going up to like champions, which of course are pretty durable. But as far as like a really offensive unit goes, they have good staying power. They have 80 leadership, and they do also have a really cool mechanic called Berserk. So after they fight for a period of time, they get an incremental stat increase. And this goes for most Norscan troops, but on Berserkers, it's especially strong. So at stage 1, they get 22% physical resist, which again is kind of similar to like Plague Monks, these high DPS units that look really squishy on the surface, but have some kind of hidden stats that can really make them much more durable. 22% physical resist. At stage 2, they get another 13 melee attack. And then, of course, at stage 3, they also have Rampage, which does come with the benefits and downsides of Rampage. But at the end of the day, Berserkers are just an absolute lawnmower of a unit. And I feel like at 750 gold, they're a pretty good steal. They have a good charge bonus for infantry also. A charge bonus of 33 is very good. A lot of infantry are kind of in the ballpark of either 6, very low, up to like maybe 18 for some more aggressive units. But these bad boys, these Berserkers, have a great charge bonus, great weapon strength, surprisingly good staying power, and really good leadership. I've oftentimes seen builds with like 4 or 5 Berserkers in the front line, with a little bit of support from like Mammoths and maybe Skin Wolves, really just buzzsaw through an enemy army and just win the battle very quickly. So there you have it, guys. It is going to be the Marauder Berserkers for NORSCA, and we'll see you in the next faction. And now, guys, it is time for some good old-fashioned barbecue and bacon as we head on over to the Beastmen. So for the Beastmen, the pick is going to be the Razorgore Herd. And if you look at the stat card for these guys, 45 armor, 24 melee attack, 60 melee defense, it really does seem relatively unimpressive. However, where they really perform is their price point and how they perform on the battlefield. So firstly, like I said, price point. Razorgores are 550, and for that cost, you're getting 24 monstrous units that have really good mass. And as you guys know, having mass is extremely important for a multitude of reasons. Pushing through targets to get to the more ideal targets, wrapping up big threats, and that's something where Razorgores really shine. For the cost, you can surround a dragon, dragon, you can surround, let's say, an Arachnarok Spider, a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, and yeah, they're not going to be doing like insane damage, but they have enough mass to wrap these guys up, and they also have really good AP values, and oftentimes most of those big monsters do come with pretty, high armor premiums, so having the really good AP on these guys and the good mass is incredible for stopping those units, locking them in place, and allowing your Gorbals and some of your other units to come in and maybe finish the job. On top of that, Razorgors are a really good supplement to your front line. Oftentimes, a lot of Beastmen players will use Ungors and Chaff units, very, very cheap stuff, which of course, are the bodies. But from there, they are the tank, you need the spank. And the Razorgor herds are the spank. Their melee attack is okay, so it can usually get through like mid-range units. But again, you stack Razorgors on top of like Ungor spears, and you have a very formidable, very, very cheap spear wall that can deal with large threats with spears, also has enough mass to not be bullied, and on top of that has good AP values through the Razorgor herds. Also, they have 70 speed, which is really, a lot of people underestimate that. That means Razorgors are faster than Empire Knights, and if you team these guys up with like Poison Hounds or Centigors or other units like that, they can really put a huge dent in elite heavy cav, and that's kind of how the Beastmen roll. You get a bunch of Haggard units, you swarm, you summon monsters, you do your thing. But again, Razorgors are a really good supplement to the front line if you want them to fight infantry. They can tear through greatswords, they can tear through Chaos Warriors with a little bit of support, and on top of that, a really good high mass unit for a very cheap premium that can block up big monsters threats and really help you control the battlefield. So there you have it, guys, for the Beastmen. It is going to be the dreaded pig, the Razorgor herd. All right, I hope you guys brought your camel packs as we head on down to the desert lands of the Tomb Kings. So for the Tomb Kings, this was a pretty easy choice. I think the best unit on the roster is the Ushabti Greatbow. These guys are good in almost every single matchup. Yeah, there might be like one or two where they're not really ideal, maybe you don't want to bring them, but in general, these bad boys are good across the board. So firstly, 255 range, 123 missile damage with, just catch this guys, 104 of the 123 being AP damage. These guys are absolute monsters at bringing down armor, enemy lords, enemy flyers, enemy single entities. You can put them on things like Chosen, even like Norgrimling's Ironbreaker type units. They will tear them to absolute shreds. And again, Ushabti Greatbow, great range, great AP damage. And honestly, what's really cool about them, and a lot of missile units, if you look at like Deck Gunners and Jezzails, when they run out of ammo, they're basically useless. They're just going to be absolute trash. But the regular Ushabti here, or the Ushabti Greatbows, when they run out of ammo, basically become regular Ushabti. Yeah, they don't have the bonus versus infantry that the regular Ushabti do have, but they're really not slouches. They have good mass, pretty decent combat stats with 23, 35, 65 for their baseline infantry stats. Not infantry, but I guess melee combat stats. And they do also have 90 armor. I think that Ushabti Greatbows are just a meta-defining unit for the Tomb Kings. They just have so much application on the battlefield. Even if they get compromised, they still have 90 armor, pretty good melee defense, can fight back long enough for you to come in and rescue these bad boys. And then suddenly you turn them back online. They punish the enemy lord, enemy high-value assets, enemy elite cav, you name it. Ushabti Greatbows, by far, in my opinion, the best unit on the Tomb Kings roster. So there you go, guys. And now we move on to the last faction, which is going to be Chaos. And now the Dark Gods smile as we end this video and head on over to Chaos. So for Chaos, I think that the best unit on the roster is the not so humble Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Now this was tough. I felt like the standard Chaos Warrior with the Axe and Shield is very, very cost effective. However, I feel like the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is more essential in more matchups. So for 2,000 gold, you're getting a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Now what's really cool about these monstrous units is many big fighty beasts like this aren't this quick. Dragon Ogre Shaggoths have 76 speed, which means they can keep pace with heavy cav. They can almost catch a lot of skirmish units and are highly mobile with good mass. So you can stick and move, you can go after enemy cav units, you can bounce them into the front line engagement. A little bit more micro-intensive than something like a Giant or an Iroh Titan, but really I think the speed of the Shaggoth is something that's very substantial. On top of that, the Shaggoth has really good combat stats, 52 for melee attack, 50 melee defense, so very well-rounded both offensively and defensively. It has 70 armor, it causes terror. It does also have baseline missile resist of 25%, so if it's being shot at by bow units or gun units, which it typically will, it's getting some mitigation. Now, not all monsters have this. The fact that it does have the scaly skin trait that gives a missile resist, very, very powerful stuff. And again, a good charge bonus, so a good all-arounder type unit. Yes, it is an anti-large unit at its core with 460 weapon strength and a bonus versus large of 30, but it's really not terrible against infantry either. Its charge bonus and cycle charging in conjunction with its speed can really lead this big, scary Chaos monster to doing some really good work. And yeah, this was a tough one. The standard Chaos Warriors are really good and really cost-effective for 750 gold, but I feel like the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth is more essential in more matchups. As such, the big old Shaggy is going to be coming in with the top pick for Chaos, and that, my friends, is going to be the list. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys have any feedback, if there's any other subject matter you would like to see covered, please do let me know. Some of the other things I am thinking about doing is the best cavalry unit, the best infantry unit, doing something along those lines, talking about what my opinion are the top 3 units in each category. Skirmish cav, chariots, footlords, you name it. I think something like that could be relatively interesting. But again, if you guys did enjoy the video, please do like and subscribe. It helps me out quite a bit as I do this for a living. And again, I really appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the battlefield. Cheers.